Hey guys, good evening everybody. Welcome to another edition of the AccessTrade.com nightly wrap-up show. So let's talk about stocks, right? Let's talk about the stocks. Let's talk about the market. Let's talk about some givens in trading. Number one, S&P 500 after about a two-week hiatus of kind of ranging one way or another, kind of in a sleep, like literally in sleep mode, almost in an idle state of confusion, finally made a move. Finally made a move today, and now it's again stone's throw away from all-time highs. Again, we're getting closer and closer to that Dow 20,000. That's slowly but surely going into the most uneventful whole number break in history, because people have been kind of anticipating it happening for weeks and weeks and weeks, and every time it gets close, it kind of sells off. But the good thing is that the bulls have stayed firmly in control through this whole time here, and you can see it here. Every time it tested the bottom of the channel, roughly around this 2255 area, 2258, 2257. Every time it held, it kind of approached this 20-day moving average. Again, not that the 20-day is the end-all be-all, but it does surface as a very valid moving average, valid support. So it bounced 3 times off this level, and today we finally got to move back to the upper Bollinger Band, roughly to this 2285 area, which the old high is 2282. So this is the close, this is the highest close in this whole formation. Again, the longer the market consolidates, the more the bears get frustrated, the more shorts start to cover. And you can make an argument, you could definitely make an argument today. A lot of the juice in the market came from short covering of groups that were cracking down. And when they couldn't crack down and held support, all those shorts, they were fighting for weeks and weeks and weeks, it started to cover. If you look at the trading day today, there was a few things that really really stood out. Okay, number one, over the last several weeks, we're really noticing, and I think every trader, every trader that trades in intraday ranks is really noticing that the volume kind of starts drying up after the first hour and a half, about 90 minutes. In the olden days, about 5 years ago, in the olden days, you would have a solid 3.5 hour window before you get to dead zones, and then obviously, quote unquote, you have that 2:30 reversal, and then you have that power hour into the close. And for the last 2 weeks or so, we're seeing a lot of downward bias volume, literally in the first 90 minutes. And I keep on saying this all the time: unless you are positioned overnight, unless you are positioned overnight, you are really in, you really are playing behind the 8 ball, because again, if you miss that opening window, and again, we talk about that opening window as your homework from the night before, right? Your homework from the night before. So if you miss that opening window, it's going to be very tough to play catch up, because as every candle forms, as the day gets lower, further along, and the volume gets lower, it's going to be very tough to really get anything going. And if you look at last night's video, right? If you look at last night's video, we were really heavy into high beta, right? Everything was in high beta. We talked about Priceline, Facebook, Google, Amazon, right? Everything. And YND. I mean, everything off our watch list literally gapped up this morning. Everything. Priceline, Google, Facebook, sign. I mean, look at some of these moves here. Right at the open, Priceline, ran up pretty decent. Google ran up about $3-4 right at the open. Yet Facebook, running up at the open, and then came in and then ran back at the open. This YNDX we had, we have off the watch list, again, gapped up, nothing you could do there. Sina, very aggressive off the open, really aggressive off the open. We had this thing as a 69 break. It opened up at 68.88, and I'm talking about with a blink of an eye, it exploded. There's no way, there was no possible way you could have any type of size or any type of liquidity at that open. So it was very frustrating. I mean, really frustrating, because we see, we see literally, the window closing, because things got slow really quickly. And the one thing you can really tell, and we talked about this in morning strategy, there's 2 trades I really liked, and the only ones that had a chance to kind of get filled on. The first one was Tesla. We talked about 2 areas of concentration, this 250-20 level, and then this 251 level. And you had to see how fast, how really fast you would have to have the fastest quant model in history to get filled. And I missed it. I completely missed it. Same thing with Google. Same thing with Google. Right off this move here. Same thing with Google. You had this move here. You couldn't even get filled. 847 went to 850 literally in seconds. You just couldn't get filled. So I felt very, I felt very frustrated. Okay, I felt very, very frustrated because my whole day, and if you look at last night's video, everything was pretty much, surrounded about high beta. I wanted to get a scenario of a red to green situation because I believe there was going to be a lot more value than anything else, and I got completely shut out. And the one thing I always talk about, and this is something that we use a lot in the live webinar, the theory of less is more, okay, quality over quantity. And the third thing is the market is going to do what it has to do regardless if you're in the market or not, okay, regardless if you're in the stock or not. So I felt very, very discouraged this morning because liquidity just completely dried up, literally dried up in the first 90 minutes. And I just sat there really just like uninterested, completely uninterested. Things were fading lower and then they started moving higher. So by the time that 3 o'clock rally started, I was already so disgusted that I missed a secondary pivot on Amazon, 19.25, which exploded. I missed a secondary pivot on Google off that 47 area, which exploded. And I sat there and I was like, you know what? It almost felt as I lost money on the day. The only trade literally I put on in the morning was this little CGIX. And I said to myself, it's trading in a 5-cent range. It's not doing anything. So I went to pick up my kids from school and there was some issue there I had there with my son. So I couldn't come back. I was meeting with the people from school and I bought this thing at 195, right? I bought this thing at 195. And as I'm sitting there waiting to talk to one of the school officials, I look and literally the stock just went bananas literally within a half hour. So ironically, by me going and discussing school business, I actually did very well with this trade. I actually did very, very well with this trade. The most ironic part of it is we always say this all the time. Stocks are going to move when buyers clean up sellers and sellers clean up buyers. So you can see here, I got long the stock right here. I literally got this long right here at 10 o'clock. By the time I looked up and I went, it was 3 o'clock, nothing was going on with the stock. And then finally they cleaned up the sellers and the stock put up a really big move. And so I'm long my whole position. I'm long my whole position overnight and it closed right over the last supply. So I'm hoping this expanding volume will get this thing going tomorrow. So the most ironic part about my quote unquote slow day turned out to be a pretty decent day. And you got a 30 cent move on a $2 stock with liquidity is pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good. So I was feeling, very discouraged that I kind of missed my window. But once I checked where, once I saw where this thing was going, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty good. And the fact that I wasn't here, I didn't even have a chance to scale out. I didn't have a chance to scale out at 250. I didn't have any offers out. So in a weird way, this day turned out to be well. So I say this all the time. The market is, in a weird way, there's only a couple of guarantees, okay? A couple of guarantees. Number one, death and taxes, everybody knows about that, right? That's the oldest adage out there. And number two is trust technical analysis, okay? Trust technical analysis. The people who completely crap on technical analysis versus fundamental analysis, and again, I'm not gonna tell anybody how to run their trading business, but I'm a firm believer that technical analysis is the most amazing thing out there. And no matter how many trades you put on, and this is why it's so darn hard to find good quality setups, because not every single setup has a distribution period of more than 5 to 7 days. Not every single setup has volume, expanding volume, and not every single setup has the ability to confirm supply. So when people talk about 10 to 15 trades a day, and I'm marveled at what they're possibly, what they're possibly trading. But little by little, I was very happy to see this move. It got me out of this mental funk. But I do say this much, okay? I do say this much, guys. Let the most frustrating day that you have, okay, is the one that you are inactive, okay? It's much more devastating, okay? And people will always eat up a lot of mental equity. Okay, we talk about mental equity all the time. You don't get back mental equity. It's almost easier to lose money and be mentally okay than be kind of drawn out for a couple of days of inactivity and kind of going through the motions. Unfortunately for myself, I learned a long time ago that boredom trading is a completely waste of time. It's a fundamental, it's a fundamental exercise that does nothing good to anybody. You'll still have mental carnage, right? You'll still lose mental equity. So why do it? And oh, by the way, you're not going to have premium setups though. So I try to do my best every single day to show everybody how somebody's been doing this for a very, very long time, kind of operates. There's certain days I'm very active. There's certain days I'm very passive. But the most important part is there's days and there's days and there's days. And what that basically translates to, just stay in business. Just stay in business and you'll get it. So this turned out to be, a nothing day for me. And then I caught, let me look at the move. 18% move. It's a big, big move into the close, and hopefully tomorrow it will gap up or at least confirm today's channel above that 225 area. So going into tomorrow, technology looks good. I think you have to buy them. You have to buy them on dips until it stops. We've been talking about this now for about a week or so, despite the indexes, with the exception of today, being very, very heavy. The dips are being bought. Dips are being bought. So this morning, when you saw Amazon, weak, it got strong very, very quickly. When you saw NVIDIA weak, it got strong very, very quickly. It got, Google went red and all of a sudden wrapped up 5 points. So there might not be that exaggerated buying that we're looking for, right? That really big aggression candles, but these things are darn strong. And until they change sentiment, you have to obey them. So you kind of, tomorrow morning, guys, get into morning strategy. We'll obviously talk about all the pivots for the high beta names. Let's talk about some names. Let's talk about some names that I like for tomorrow. Obviously, everything should be bought on dips. Google is very strong. Facebook is very strong. Amazon is very, very strong. Tesla's incredibly strong. Very, very strong name. So definitely keep an eye on all these things. We'll talk about levels tomorrow in case we get a weak open. But we'll talk about levels tomorrow on the 60-minute support for all those beta names. Some other names that I do like, check out this little QTM, guys. I think I traded this thing about 6 months ago. It looks very familiar. Yeah, I did. Here was it. Yeah, I did look familiar. I bought this thing around 70 cents. I had a nice 5-day run in this thing. It looks like it's setting up again here, guys. Set an alert, guys, like that 98 cents, $1 level for the next leg ups. Keep an eye on that. Peers has just been kind of flagging. It had that PR about a week ago, about 2 weeks ago, actually. Had that PR, bounced off support aggressively, expanding volume. Keep an eye on this thing above. Keep an eye on this thing above that 197, $2 area for a possible next move up. GVA is in construction. Okay, GVA is in the construction field. Nice looking setup. Nice looking setup here. You can see today basically broke the whole downtrend. Had a big, big run late last year. And now it closed at the 50-day moving average. All it needs to do is reclaim that 58 level, and the stock should go. So keep an eye on that. TWOU, okay, had a nice run. Pretty nice run towards the beginning of the year. You can see this move made from the bottom 29.50 all the way to 34.86. It's starting to flag now, waking up. I think a break above this 34.86, 35 level, and the stock should go. Again, you could just draw, you could just almost draw a longer trend line. You can see it here. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Let me just show you. You could just draw a longer trend line, and kind of supports the whole theory. So, a break above this 34.86, 35 level should get this thing going. So keep an eye on that. Box, BOX, Box Inc. Good looking chart. Good looking setup there. It's flagging. And again, another stock that had a nice run from late December, early January. Now it's flagging again, guys. Send alert, guys. 1740 on this thing for the next leg up. EMKR looks very good. EMKR, another name that looks very, very good as well. Nice flag here. Nice flag here. Had a big run up in late December. All it needs to do is clear out that 950 area for the next leg up. And I like Amazon. I think Amazon, they're going to run this thing into earnings. A couple of ways to play it: either red to green or a break above today's high of roughly 824. So that looks good as well. So a very, very important lesson, guys, that we teach every single day. Again, I don't use the word teach. I want to show convey. Use the word convey, kind of pass along from just experience. But the one thing we always want to be in the action, right? I think it's human nature of the nature of the business. Everybody wants to be in the action. The problem is sometimes you're going to miss the parade. You're going to literally miss your window for the parade. So instead of, again, I say this all the time, instead of sitting trying to play a 3-7 offsuit, just wait. You know something eventually is going to highlight your process, is going to really highlight what you do. It's going to work. And once you trust technical analysis, you have this really, really nice surprise at the close with that little stock that we're holding, CGIX. So would turn out to be pretty decent day. I mean, financially, it would turn out to be a pretty decent day just on one trade. So hopefully tomorrow we'll get a lot more conviction. Hopefully we'll get a lot more clearer setups. But again, the most important day is the next day. That means you are in business. Guys, have a great night, everybody. And God's help, we'll see you all tomorrow.